Hello. It has been a while since I did anything, hasn't it, for this YouTube? Probably about 2 years, I don't know. Time is totally ephemeral to me at this point these days. Could be 2 years, could be 4. I don't really know. Which could be some idea of what's going on. This is the most awful cup, so you know, just enjoy that. I'm going to make this quick. Overall, I'm going to try and start doing some stuff on this YouTube again, even if no one ever watches it. I think it would be good for me to do. So we'll have some more track reviews coming up, and I will probably do a few little book things as well, because I've just been reading constantly for the past ages, to be honest. But I figured I should just do a little 10-minute video quickly at first. My guy is out, he's at work, so that's good. And just explain, as terrible as this will be, why I've not been doing anything. I won't go into total particulars in this, I'll just summarise it all. But there is a reason I've not been around. It's a bit of a thing, a bit of a story. If you're someone who is looking for my name for certain types of content, and I'm sure you know what I mean, this channel is not for you. Definitely not. This is like a little confessional channel, really, and probably cover some music and books, but it's mostly a little confessional channel, talking about various things which might be useful to some people. I don't know. Got to remember you're there. So basically, I went totally nuts. As of, God knows, like mid-January 2025. I want to say 2024. I've got this terrible habit now where I double time, so 2 weeks is 4 weeks. I went to go see a flat yesterday, and I was talking about it to Steve last night, saying like, did we go see a flat today, or was that the other day? It was yesterday. And today I was like, oh my god, I went and saw a flat a few days ago, didn't I? No, it was yesterday. So my timekeeping is totally out the window. Everything is twice as long as it ought to be. Ignore the noise in the background if you can hear it. Got some sort of black metal compilation on. And you might even watch my hair dry while we're chatting. I don't know. So long story short, I went pretty nuts. My whole world fell apart. I lost everything. Lost almost all of my possessions, which doesn't really matter in the long run. Lost my little small holding, which was like 70% of my personality, unfortunately. The cottage I was living at got sold. I didn't even get told until like there was no time left. Oh, crazy, it almost ended up in a hostel and stuff. But I almost got sectioned. I didn't end up actually getting sectioned. I had like 3 months of in-home treatment, high intensity in-home treatment. So I had people near enough living at the cottage for a while. And they were a godsend, absolute blessing. I would have never asked for help. I've always been bad like that. I don't ask for help. Don't want it. My biggest fear in life, despite being who I am, and you probably find it hard to believe, is being an attention seeker or crying wolf. Or you should always be able to handle things by yourself, shouldn't you? Really? But I lost it. So that's why you've not seen anything from me for a couple of years. For starters, I'll just show you. I did this. The ones on the right hand side, my little finger side, they don't look old, but they are old. It's just the big one is struggling to heal for some reason. It doesn't really heal, but I did this to myself, which was not ideal. So I put quite a chunky little cut through my wrist. Not quite the full palm to elbow, but it was quite bad. And I did the whole thing, you know. I sort of I'd sat around fairly bad for quite a while. Someone called the crisis team on me. I wasn't going to call anyone for help. I didn't want any help. Sort of turned off my phone, stopped talking to people, sat in bed for about, I don't know, 6 weeks. Didn't get out of bed. Luckily, I have a really good friend, the guy I'm actually with at the moment, and he just wouldn't let up, even if I was telling him to F off and get out, and, you know, I don't want any help, go away, leave me to die, alright, go away. He wouldn't. He would just turn up. He had a key, so he'd just turn up at the cottage like every day. And usually I would sit upstairs in the bed, and he'd just sit downstairs. Bless him. And every time he left, I'd go down, and there'd be like a load of burgers and sausages and stuff all cooked up in the oven. Absolute lifesaver, you know, godsend really. Bless his heart. Makes me cry thinking about it, but I'm not going to. It's amazing how nice some people are. So, long story short, like I say, lost everything. Couldn't really handle it. I had this whole future planned, and I was starting this little Etsy business, and it all just fell apart. I'd just finished converting one of the rooms to a studio. The cabin was up and running. The small holding was working. Music was going really well. I'd started another channel which was just going to be guitar covers of like technical death metal and stuff. It was all very, you know, high skill, but slowly getting back to myself. I just stopped everything. Stopped absolutely everything. Didn't do a thing. Couldn't be arsed with it. I laid in bed. I put on a channel called Horror Babble, which is just like old Pulp Fiction stories. And I'd have that running in the background 24/7. Couldn't tell you a thing I heard. Didn't listen to any of it. Very depressed. It got really, really depressed to the point of like psychosis. Although, because I was aware of everything that was going on, as far as the psychiatrists, psychologists, therapists, crisis team and stuff were concerned, I wasn't psychotic. But I had a bloody dog running around the house. There wasn't really a dog there, but there was a dog, and it was running around the house. And it used to sit in the hallway outside the bedroom door, snuffling. And then it would come and jump on the bed and crawl all over me, and I could feel it jumping all over me and stuff. It was really not good. And every time I was in the kitchen, some woman in red would walk by the kitchen window. And I knew it wasn't real, but oh my god, when that starts happening, you really do think you've lost the plot. And I still, to this day, I still find it hard to believe that I didn't. They seem to think you weren't insane, you weren't crazy, you weren't psychotic, you've got so much insight, you knew what was going on. You were aware of it, but I couldn't stop it. It was just happening. Anyway, I got really, really depressed to the point of becoming suicidal. I reverted to old behaviours when I was 19, 20. I'd been depressed for years. I had a really mad life at that age. I was living a double life, and a lot of my friends were like thugs, and a lot of them ended up in jail and for knife-related offences and selling Class A's and all that sort of stuff. And home life when I was living with my mum still. She was an absolute wonderful person. Love her to death. She's the only reason really that I've stuck around. But lots of trauma, lots of grief, depression, alcoholism. Everyone who used to come round to the house growing up was like a heroin addict or an alcoholic, and they all had their problems, and it was just chaos. It was just a nightmare, total nightmare growing up. And so I left home quite early and went to this like group home, and it was just terrible. I hated it. I was too depressed to really get on with it. And so when I was about 19, I forget my time scales, 19, 20, I tried to kill myself. I've actually got this weird scar along here. And I've got one sort of down here. That looked awful. But along my, you know, sort of inside of my thigh, I tried to cut, like, I think it's the brachial artery, isn't it? And my femoral, but it didn't quite go to plan, and I woke up in a hospital and spent a little while there. But it wasn't the end of the world, you know. After that, I was fine. Total 180. I was absolutely fine after that. Really weird. And then I had a 9-10 year period of being on and off depressed, but not bad. But it got really bad. It got really bad again. 2025 got really, really, really bad again. To the point of just not being able to function. Couldn't do anything. Just gave up. Couldn't be asked with anything, to be totally honest. More than couldn't be asked, you know. It was like this sort of perpetual boredom, and nothing in the world could fill it. Nothing. Anything that I loved, anything I cared about, just didn't matter. It was all yellow wallpaper. Absolutely all of it. So to speak. So, at some point, I think around February 2025, I bought this helium tank, 99% pure helium, and I made an exit bag, as they're called. A great big plastic hood, because I didn't want my lungs popping before I was gone. Yeah, anyway, tubing, tape and a belt, all that sort of thing. And my plan was to use that, and I was going to off myself with that. But I kind of returned to old proclivities, and so ultimately, when I really gave it a good go, I went with blade and bath. Very, very typical, very cliche. And I made it all like weirdly nice, you know. It was very strange. I went and put a load of candles out in the bathroom. Got my little speaker out, put that in there, put on Berzum, Soldier Borg, 5-hour version. It's this really lovely acoustic melody, and it just goes on and on and on and on and on, and just perfect background noise for everything. I was properly cracking up, you know. Anyway, so this one day, I had gone and got everything ready in the bathroom. And even though I'd been self-harming quite excessively, really quite excessively, I was a bit gone, couldn't really feel it. For some reason, every time I went to do my wrist, I'd like snap back a bit and it hurt like hell. I couldn't do it, so I bought all these numbing creams, lidocaine cream, and I bought myself some Swan Morton scalpels. And then this one night, I was laying on the bed. It wasn't really a bed at that point, because I'd got rid of the duvet and I'd got rid of the bed sheets and just put down some like sheeting, you know. Didn't want to make a mess for anyone. And I wrote out my suicide note. It was only very brief, as it is when you go a bit nuts. And if I look at that note these days, it's like, wow, you were crazy. Really brief. Just sort of absolving everybody I knew of any responsibility, saying like, you know, you've all been amazing, I love you all, you're fantastic, I've given up, I can't do it, I can't make it, I can't do this. Even though the crisis team were coming around and stuff, they wanted to section me, but I wasn't quite dangerous enough to really be sectioned. Every day they would give me this talk and they would try and get me to come and stay at the hospital for a while, but I didn't want to do it. To be honest, I didn't want help, I just wanted to get to the point where I said goodnight to the world, so to speak, call it a void. Freudian death drive turned up way too loud. And so, this one day, I'd been laying in bed, as you do. And I'd got all these towels, and I'd laid all these towels out. And I'd got my scalpel, and I covered my arm in lidocaine cream. And I spent a while just working my way around in a circle, which should tell you somewhat where my head was at, and not good. And I was trying to get to, this is a really specific thing, I was trying to get to the posterior interosseous artery, which is sort of here. and I was cutting and cutting and cutting and cutting, and eventually I hit it, and it fucking spurted. Um, yeah, it was very not good. So I was a bit worried about passing out because I really wanted to go in the bath, so I didn't know whether it would close up, you know. So I had this orange towel, and I wrapped my arm up really loosely with it. I'm getting my things wrong. Right, let's start again. So what happened was, got myself a towel, bunch of them. The plan was initially to take a load of sleeping pills, lidocaine my arm up, take loads and loads of ibuprofen. I took so much that I actually can't drink or anything anymore. Mess my liver up or my kidneys, whatever it is. So I ate like a couple of packs of ibuprofen because it thins your blood. So then I cut down, I did a cross section, and I got down into my interracius, and I wrapped it really loosely in a towel. I didn't want to wrap it tight because I didn't want to stop it, but I also didn't want to see it coming out. And the plan was I'd fall asleep in bed. So I lay there, eyes closed, you know, doing the whole thing. And a little while in, I don't know how long it was. Anyway, I ended up with the worst cotton mouth in the world, so to speak, and my head was warm, this horrible, aching, deep, numb, throbbing headache. It was really not good. And so, I was like, I'm not going to fall asleep yet, am I? I've got to get up. So I got up, my arm was, gelatinous mess. Just a like blobs of red, crimson, brown jellyfish, you know, it was just this disgusting thing. The towel was heavy and sodden, and it was gross. It fucking stank as well. It stank like a butcher's shop. And so I was like, right, this is it. So I went into the bathroom, just about. I nearly passed out by the time I got to the bedroom door, to be honest. But I got into the bathroom, and I got into the bath. I don't know if it was that hot at that point, to be honest. I couldn't feel any. I hadn't had the heating on in the cottage for a few months. Everyone used to come round with jackets and scarves, and you could see each other's breath when you were talking, but I couldn't feel any of it. I couldn't feel a thing. Anyway, so I'd done this, cut that, wrapped it in a towel. Couldn't quite get to sleep where I was. And so I made it over to the bathroom. British institution. Made it into the bathroom. And I had this little side table set up next to the bath. And I put the Behappy song. Put the Behappy song on the stereo. And I had a glass of red wine. And a box of Black Magic chocolate. Box of chocolate. I got into the bath. And so while I was in the bath, I determined to stay awake until I couldn't. And I ate my chocolates. Drank my wine. And drank my cuppa. Last meal type thing, you know. while I was doing it, I got my scalpel, and I did. Oh God, you can't really see it there, can you? For some reason, it doesn't really show that thing. Finally, I'd managed to get the strength to do it, and so it's roughly there. You can't really see it in this light, but that's good probably. Anyway, I did it. I bloody did it. So I did my rest. Wasn't quite down, wasn't quite across. I sort of jaywalked, so to speak. And I lay in the bath. And I fell asleep. Quite quickly. And there's no fucking way on earth I should have survived that. There's just no way on earth I should have survived that. But as it is, I woke up at 5 in the morning. 5:55 to be exact. Weird. Not that weird. Sound like a schizo there, but it was fucking weird at the time. And I woke up and I was freezing. And my teeth were chattering like hell. Fucking shaking. I was shaking like you can't believe. I was freezing cold. And my head was just... I've never had a headache like it in my life. Not before, not since. I've never had a headache like that. It was something totally different. I could feel my heart, and it was so warm. It was this slow, heavy dirge going on inside my skull. And I couldn't feel a thing. Emotionally, there was nothing. No despair, no relief, just nothing. And it was so surreal. It was fucking freezing. And so, I got up. I got out of the bath. I got out of the bath. I fell over the side. I crashed into my table. And the song was still playing. And you'd think it'd be this dramatic moment, wouldn't you? But it wasn't. Got up, got out of the bath, stood up, grabbed my dressing gown. I had this pink dressing gown. It was just a mess. It was this matted red mess at this point. Crisis team kept trying to give me a new one and take it off of me, but I wasn't going to let them. So it was a comfort. And so I popped my dressing gown back on. And I totted off, back into the bedroom. I got into bed and I fell asleep. And I woke up the next day, probably about 2 in the afternoon. And you'd think nothing had happened. I went downstairs. Sorry, I'm going to smoke this. I don't even know if you'd have to do that on YouTube, but we're going to go for it. I stopped smoking, but about 4 months ago I started smoking again. I will stop again, don't worry. But these are lovely, they're berry. Anyway, so yeah, sorry about all the ums and ahs. I struggle a bit talking about this. Even when I talk to a psychiatrist, I just find it difficult. So embarrassed and ashamed, to be totally honest. Guilty. I'd always said I'd never do it as long as Mum's alive. I'm never gonna kill myself. That's always been my thing. And I failed, you know. I really failed that night. I just couldn't, it was too much. So, next day, wake up about 2 o'clock. And I'd missed the crisis team, so they were fucking hammering at the door. And I was getting all these phone calls. So I went down, answered the door, and they came in, and they were like, how come you didn't answer, you know, what's going on, everyone's panicking. And I just said I just overslept, stayed up all night in a state, and I must have just slept through it, sorry. Made cups of tea, and we all sat around having cups of tea. And I wouldn't let them see my arm that day. They'd been checking up, but I just wouldn't let them see it. I was like, oh no, I've been good. I've been good. I've done all the things. I'm doing all the things. I'm fine. So I got away with that. But I was in a state for days. I was in a right state. Yeah, I was really fucked up after that for a few days. And then I was angry. It took a while. It took a few days of not feeling anything. And then, maybe longer, maybe got to about March 1st. And then I was angry. I was really fucking fuming that I hadn't done it. And so I was determined, I'm going to do it tonight. I'm going to kill myself tonight. It's going to happen. I'm not going to survive twice, you know. Lightning don't strike twice. But I was going to do the helium kit, because that way you can't fail. I shouldn't have failed anyway. I shouldn't have fucking woke up in that bath. I don't know how it happened. Too cold, freezing, water freezing, but it shouldn't have clotted in water. You know, I've taken all these ibuprofen. No idea. No idea. Should have taken it as a sign, but no, not at all. So, that day, I did my thing, because I didn't go out the house for months. I wouldn't get out the front door, I couldn't do it. I was too embarrassed, didn't want neighbours to see me, didn't want anyone to see me, didn't want anyone to know. I was so ashamed. So I just couldn't get out of the front door. Couldn't do it. Couldn't get out into the garden. Couldn't get out. And I did an Uber, called up the guy, and had him bring me a few bottles of gin. I think it was gin. Pink gin, big bottle of pink gin. Like maybe Beefeater gin even, I don't know. I bought a few bottles of alcohol and I bought a load of those pre-mixed cocktails. Determined. And I was going to do it in this grand, narcissistic way. The only way I could explain it, fucking narcissistic as hell. I was going to live stream it. I'm going to live stream a suicide, why not? I've been addicted to these forums for years, like gore forums, and I've been binge watching suicides for a while as well. And so I was going to live stream mine. And so that night, I set up a bunch of streams, you know, and I was hammered. I was so drunk. And my mum got the notification. She got a notification from YouTube, from my channel. I didn't even know she was subscribed to it, didn't know she knew about it. And she called me. She gave me a phone call. And my heart dropped. Whatever was left of it, it dropped. And I answered. And there she was on the phone. I don't know what that did to me, but I was angry. I was fuming. I couldn't believe it, you know. It was in my face, it was in my ear. I couldn't get away from it. There's my mum. Not who you want around when you're about to do that. I don't know how long she stayed on the phone. I don't know what happened after that. I literally have no memory of what happened after that. Clearly I had put the phone down or thrown it across the room or something. All the live streams were cut. Whichever ones weren't cut were deleted by the crisis team the next day. They got my passwords and stuff and deleted all these videos. And I don't remember what happened after that. But I smashed the cottage up. I smashed the whole place up. I smashed everything. Absolutely everything. The kitchen was destroyed. Every single plate, cup, every glass, destroyed. All my plants, all the pots, everywhere, compost everywhere. Fridge turned over, cupboards. We had these big, lovely, lovely units. Really nice. They were trashed. They were in pieces. They were all over the place. The table was over the corner. The chairs were everywhere. The living room was smashed, trashed, everything trashed. I'd taken a radiator off of the wall. And I woke up to banging. Loads and loads of banging. There was banging at both the doors. Really heavy banging. So once again, I sort of got up. And when I got up, the bedroom was trashed. Everything was smashed. I went into the hallway, the corridor, the landing, whatever you want to call it, upstairs. And there was a fucking ladder across, over the banister. It was just everything. I can't even imagine how on earth I managed to do it. It's like a poltergeist had been in or something. Everything was just ruined. So I went downstairs and I let them in. And it was long reach people, it was crisis team people. They'd come in an ambulance. And I went to the front door because there was someone at the front door, and I said, you can't come in this way. I could only open it about that much because there was a unit against it. And so I was like, oh, you can't come in, you're going to have to come around the back. And I let them in at the back. I let the guy in who had actually done my assessment at Longreach at first, weirdly. And the woman came in as well, she was a nurse. And the place was covered in blood and stuff. But this thing, I've got like a weird little scar here. This isn't the main one, I don't know why you can't see this. But this thing as well goes along round to the side. I tried to get my ulnar artery. And it just hasn't healed properly. Everything else has healed quite nicely, but that hasn't. I've got a few on my thigh that haven't healed either. So they came in, bless their hearts. She went into the kitchen, found the kettle, found a cup that wasn't smashed amongst the wreckage. She found the sugar, she found the tea, she found the milk. I don't know how on earth she did it, but she found it all. And she made me a cup of tea. Bless her heart. Little angels, really. I was out with it. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't even know if it was real. So, they sat basically hours with me. I was covered in sick. I didn't notice. I had sick in my hair, sick all over me, sick all over the floor. They stayed, and again they were like, don't you think it's about time you came into the hospital? Really, you know, it's not that bad, Lola, we'll take care of you, sort of thing. I don't know, absolutely not. You're gonna have to get the police round, you're gonna have to get someone to come and drag me, you're gonna have to put a lithium shot in the ass or something, because I'm not coming in. And they stayed, and I don't know what happened, I fell asleep. And then I woke up again to people at the door. And there's 3 of them. And I was shitting myself. So there's 3 of them. And they brought a load of bin bags. And they all had their gloves and cleaning clothes on. And they tidied the house up. Oh, that gets me, it does. They cleaned it all up. They cleaned everything up. Put all the units back, cleaned the cupboards, cleaned all the soil up, bagged up all the broken stuff, all the smashed stuff, doing tip runs. Hoovered. They cleaned that cottage, they made it really lovely. I smashed all the the plug sockets, whatever you call them, the switches. And they cleaned everything up. They got rid of all the towels, got rid of the sheets, dressing gowns. And they made it really nice. And the big doctor, I called him the big doctor, he was coming around with his clipboard. And that was to decide whether I was going to be involuntary sectioned, you know, and just brought in, because they didn't really trust me at that point or believe me about anything. They'd seen me out and they were like trying to get me to go into hospital to get stitching and surgery, and so he came round and I sat on I had this little mosaic table. I sat on the table and they all sat in a row on the sofas. And you could tell I was scared. I didn't want to come in. Anyway, long story short, they didn't section me. I had to do 6 months of compulsory therapy. A bunch of meds, which I didn't take. Which is good, because now they're saying I shouldn't take sertraline, because it might make me worse. But I have to take metazapine to get to sleep, and it was going to be lithium, but it's all up in the air. I thought I might have bipolar 2 with mixed state bipolar 2, but they've actually sort of backtracked, and so I was I've been diagnosed with severe recurrent depression with agitation and suicidality, severe CPTSD, gender dysphoria, which I already had, and an anxiety disorder. So yeah. Anyway, the thing that came down to was they said because I had smashed everything in the cottage to smithereens, that was the breaking point, apparently. It was like, you were either going to kill yourself or you were going to smash everything up. Something had to give, and it's given. And I guess they're right, you know, I'm still here. They didn't know about the bath incident. And I kept that pretty quiet until a few months into therapy. But yeah, anyway, I ended up in a travel lodge for a month or so, and the doctors came round every day to see me. And I had therapy every week. I'm supposed to do high intensity trauma therapy for 2 years. And the most recent consultant psychiatrist has sort of arranged that, so that will start soon. And that'll be an hour a week again. This was crisis support and crisis therapy, and now I've got to do high intensity trauma therapy, whatever that is, and CBT, cognitive behavioural therapy, which is fine, you know. I haven't been brought into a hospital, I haven't been sectioned, apparently I wasn't insane. It was just very sad, so to speak. Anyway, so that's why I've not done anything for a couple of years on here. Well, for like 18 months or however long it's been. It took me about, I don't know, up until about 4 months ago to start getting back to normal. And I had a phase a while back, I had a 6-week stint where I could not sleep. Sleep was not an option. And I would just sit brooding with this scalpel in the kitchen all night. But I haven't done anything, and I don't think I'm going to. Mum's the word, so to speak, you know, as long as my mum's around I can't do it. I know I failed twice, but I think I'm good now. So, whether or not it's good for me to be chatting about stuff like this, I'm gonna do it. And I'm gonna start putting little videos up. Because it's probably good for me to just chat, even though I will get to therapy. It might be useful to someone, you know. It was bad. It was really, really bad, but I'm still bloody rocking on. I started taking a load of acid, which sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? But while I was at the travel lodge, I managed to get hold of some acid. Because I was pretty desperate, and I wanted to like reset my brain, so to speak. I don't know if that makes much sense to many people, but when I was in my early 20s, after that first suicide attempt, I took too much acid, I took too many drugs altogether actually, in a day. I just took loads of everything. And then after that, I was fine. I was absolutely fine for years. Years and years and years. I spent 3 days in a catatonic state, mind you. But I was fine after that. Once I came round, I was like the happiest thing you've ever seen. And it stayed that way for a long time. And I kept taking acid for a while. It became sort of known for it for a bit. But then I stopped. Just totally stopped. And so when I was at the travel lodge, I was like, I'm going to get some acid. And I'm going to take some acid. And I'm going to reset my brain. And actually, I had a really nice night. On my own. I prefer being on my own in the dark, you know, for tripping. I took a nice amount. I had a really nice night watching all sorts of schizo stuff on YouTube. All sorts of stuff about Shakespeare and Orange Society and symbolism and, you know, all that typical triphead stuff. Good fun. And I had a right little laugh, I had a right little giggle actually. It was the first time for a while. And then when I came here, I was a bit off the rails. I kept drinking for a bit, even though I was told I wasn't allowed to drink anymore because I had like liver cirrhosis or something, scarred. So I wasn't supposed to, but I had a little phase, like a month of just drinking vodka every day. And taking acid, taking loads of acid all the time, and loads of MDMA. But that culminated in me standing in the kitchen with a knife at my chest, and I was going to run into the wall. And I didn't want to really. Not really. I don't know what was going on. So I had to call the guy I'm with and be like, can you get back? Can you get back to the flat, please? Because I'm going mad. And so he came back, and that was good. And then I've had 2 episodes, I'll call them, since, which have both been about 6 weeks long each, where I've become depressed in a really weird way, because I don't really get better, and this is why the bipolar thing's up in the air. I don't have happy, excited moments. I just become sleepless and tired but wired. So I cannot sleep and I stay depressed. But I was just staying up all night reading books. That's all I was doing, just reading and reading and reading and reading. And trying to stave off certain thoughts, you know, trying not to be suicidal. So that's happened twice. But other than that, it's been good. And I've been slowly coming back to myself, because I was gone. I got really fat, I was binge eating. I was eating like 6-piece Wicked Variety buckets from KFC every night. I was just crying and eating and eating and crying, and really mental. They don't like me saying that for some reason. I'm not supposed to say crazy and insane and mental, but you know, what else is it? Call a spade a spade. I went totally bonkers. Totally off my trolley. Anyway, so there's a weird mental video for you. They're not going to be like that from now on, but I think that explains what happened quite well. Onwards and upwards and all of that. I'm doing my best now to try and be a bit more social and personable again and not just shut myself away. But it was embarrassing, you know. I didn't want anyone to see me, didn't want anyone to talk to me, didn't want anyone to know. They kept trying to get me to go to like Starbucks and Costa and stuff and sit and chat and drink coffee. And I was like, I don't want to be seen in a public space as I am, you know, fucking bulging out everywhere. Depressed as anything, with the most dead eyes you've ever seen, but they're okay now. Just looking like I was in the middle of a breakdown. I don't want people seeing me like that. Oh my god. I've got a happy, carefree persona I'm supposed to be keeping up. Can't have people seeing me like that. Anyway, so, there you go. Got really bad. Sort of back to normal now. Going to try and stay back to normal. Looking at flats, get my own place again. Get my sort of independence back and not always be sort of watched over. And I'm going to try and make a little video for here every week. It probably won't be every week, but I'll try and do one, and they won't be like this. It'll just be like talking about a track I like, or going through a book, because I've read so many books. Most of them are bleak as anything, you know. But they've all been really good. Some of them are great. I got really into K. Redfield Jameson. It might be K. Jameson Redfield. I get it wrong every time. Oh, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Brilliant books. They really sorted me out. And I've got a load of books on like people that have been bereaved by suicide and stuff like that. Suicide survivors, as they call them. Anything to keep in mind how much damage I would be doing to the people that like care about me. Because it's easier to care about other people than yourself sometimes, you know. Anyway, so there's that. There's that cheerful, happy, lovely little update. And it won't be like this from now on, I promise. But I think that's about as good an explanation as I can give as to why I've just been absent for ages. I'm still here though, it wasn't a total absence, so I guess that's a positive. Anyway, whoever you are, if you are anyone, if anyone sees this, loads of love, hope you're okay, be good, remember to keep those you care about in mind, loads of love and all the best to you and yours, I guess. And things can get quite bad, but stick through it. Stick through it. You can do it. I got really into this Harvard lecture about suicide. I've heard it loads in the past, but the rationality of suicide is a 3-part Harvard lecture, and it's really, really good. Sometimes it makes it worse, sometimes it makes it better, but ultimately, you know, things can get better. I'm not fully out of it, but it's getting there. And at this point, it'd be stupid to do something, because I feel like I've been through the absolute worst of it. Which is always worth remembering. If you can get through the worst of it, as terrible as that is, it does start to go back up. Right. Anyway, enough of your time. Alright? Loads of love to you all. And catch you in a more cheerful video.